baby, Bear Jesus is waking up his head once again. It's Sunday and he has risen. Bull Jesus has been destroyed, and now we have $9,000 dildos in our faces, and it's only just beginning right now. No, just kidding. Actually, there is a lot more to talk about, but who can fucking give up a good time to have some Bear Jesus talk right here, right now? Because when do we have time for this in a generational, just massive uptrend from Bitcoin for about 10,000 to 60,000 bucks? Are you telling me that sometimes Bitcoin might even pull back? This is fucking craziness. This is blasphemy. Look at I absolutely love it too, because of all of the very interesting comments that I have been receiving for not being bullish enough on Bitcoin. Apparently or even looking at a $90,000 target for Bitcoin is way too on the short side. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Anyways, with that said, I do want to invite all of the implications of Bear Jesus right now. I want to get it all out, baby, because Bear Jesus, he has fucking risen, and my lord, he's got red dildos in both hands, and he's screaming, shish kebabs for everyone, motherfucker. Anyways, before I get a little bit too carried away, I actually do want to bring things back down into reality. Look, just like I don't think that it's appropriate to get like super fucking gung-ho $250,000 plus bullish for Bitcoin within a year. At the same point, I don't necessarily think that Bitcoin's going to goddamn zero as well. This is ridiculousness. This is hyperbole. This is absurdity. This is not real trading, is what I want to say. And for all the people out there who are calling for moon and doom all at the same goddamn time, what's most likely to happen? Bitcoin's probably going to go a little bit of sideways here. Probably going to go a little bit of sideways within the daily range. Anyways, with that said, let's go put the focus on the Krown application. It can be found at app.krown.net. We actually do have a couple updates right here, right now for you. Very, very small stuff, but I do want to call it out. If you go over here to the top 10 best coins, top 10 worst coins, you can actually click on the coins themselves, and if you want to populate a chart, it will actually do exactly that for you, telling you about the hourly, the daily, and the 7-day changes there and price action. Of course, the Bitcoin pairing, and then on top of that, a few metrics as far as the circulating supply, total supply, and volume and market cap, which is a nice little welcomed addition. Now, like I said, we have a couple other really, really big additions coming in. I think around the end of this month, so keep an eye out for that. I'll obviously announce it as well. And with that said, we can go check out the top end of the dashboard right here, of which we actually see, funnily enough, a lot of the same things as we did yesterday, except for this, all of this red right here. But as far as the fear and greed index and as far as Bitcoin dominance go, very, 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 very similar right there. We did see Bitcoin dominance actually shoot down another 0.5%. It looks like overnight, but now recovering to about 52%. I actually do want to take a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart today, just to see if we're still looking at continuation there. But overall, Jesus, reading some of these comments right now, this is great. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Oh, it's glorious, my friends. Find salvation in Bear Jesus. He loves you. He loves you, and Bull Jesus actually hates you. Bull Jesus says your mother's a whore and that you look ugly. So Bull Jesus can go fuck himself. How about that? Fear and greed index, though, out of 79. That's rather interesting now, isn't it? Because we literally saw it go up, I don't know, a point or two from yesterday to today, and Bitcoin just put a $9,000 dump dildo. I guess it's some of that, it's more of that bullish dumping, right? Anyways, on top of that, we do see, most importantly, with open interest coming down almost 3 billion. That's 3 billion with a B, from about 13.5 billion and all the way down to about 10.75 billion right now, as Bitcoin price action obviously comes down about $9,000 from the top side of the range to the bottom side of the range. So what does that suggest? It does still suggest that longs are running this market. We actually haven't seen a reversal with open interest going up just yet on a daily time frame. And while it is going to be a potential coming in this next week of price action, I really want to bring things back into normality right now, because there's a lot to say about a dump like this happening over a weekend time. To put it bluntly, I actually am very skeptical of this right now. I'm not necessarily looking for a big old reversal on Bitcoin just yet. I will lay out conditions exactly of what I'm looking for into this coming week, and maybe even talk about some trades that I'll be looking at here too, because I do want to bring up my testnet account if I can. If it's populated over here. It looks like it did not. Okay, yes, I'm still locked in. Okay, cool. All right, excellent. Let me just see if I've even gotten filled on some of these positions over here. That'd be great. Well, no, I haven't, because it's illiquid as hell. Anyways, into the market data tab we go. Or actually, before that, I do think that it does deserve a little bit of notice over here. with the top 10 best coins and top 10 worst coins, right? Top 10 best coins, you can see we don't see any of that plus 150% for Dogecoin anymore now, do we? We do see, however, on the other side, a lot of red Bitcoin SV getting the shaft of that. And what's up? Hey, Mr. Alex Switch, how you doing? Bear Jesus loves Bitcoin. Man, I have to get all the Bear Jesus stuff out of me right now because while I did quite enjoy that move, although I was mostly asleep, I wouldn't necessarily look for follow through on this as it is just yet. Do I think that we come back down and test the bottom side of the range? Yeah, but that's not necessarily calling a breakdown. Although this week certainly should be fun, and especially the end of this month should very much be fun. Anyways, other than that, yeah, just about everyone's getting double-digit wrecked over here. Just shish kebabs all the way around. Bitcoin SV, Ethereum Classic, Ren, Helium, Ontology, Cosmos, EOS, Horizon, Sushi Swap, Avalanche. See a lot of 2017 shitcoins in there, even some DeFi's in there too. If it's got a food name, you know it's good. And with that, so let's go to the market data tab. And I imagine that the funny rates are completely nullified here. Yes, indeed they are. They've come all the way back down to parity, even posting some negative rates across the board. We see Deribit at negative 0.05. So you're actually getting paid quite a fair bit to hold longs right there. And for what it's worth right now, as of this exact moment on Sunday, the 18th of April, the year 2021, we don't necessarily have a downtrend on the daily just yet. So I do think that this is a bit of premature. And again, once again, this is very telling. So I'm very hesitant to get like full on reversal, bearish, looking for major massive moves to the downside, calling market cycle tops and all that good stuff, because I still haven't seen what exactly I'm looking for. But as it stands right here, this typically is within the context of a greater macro and of course daily uptrend as well. This typically is like a good signal for some potential bottoming action. Now, of course, I want to see that on price action here too. But let's actually go into the charts now, because other than that, I don't really have too much to add. Anyways, what do we see right here? Okay, so Bitcoin on the monthly, right? We've been speaking about this interplay between the monthly topside troll band and Bitcoin on the monthly range, essentially, for I guess like the last 4 to 5 months. And this signature right here has been going on for 4, 5, 6, working on month number 7. And anytime that we've seen Bitcoin trade above the topside troll band and close above there, that is essentially what I look at as like trending on that time frame. When we always have seen, whenever that condition has been met, that Bitcoin at the very least will test with the low side of that month's dildo to the top side of the Trollinger bands on that time frame. In this case, the monthly right here. And what do we see right here? We do certainly see that has been pretty much the case, 100% fulfilled for the eternity of Bitcoin. At the very least, again, testing the topside Krown band. And what do you know? Exactly where does the dump kind of get picked up from yesterday night's action? Well, quite literally right at the topside Krown band right here. So again, in a more toned down tone, because I am getting a bit carried away, and I do want to not do this a disservice, because this was a rather impressive move. But let's focus on what we're kind of looking at right here. I do look at this as first and foremost likely to bounce this region. Obviously, that's your low 5,000, or sorry, not low 5,000, low $50,000-ish region, and quite literally it has tested pretty much exactly to the T on that level. Now, with that said, we can kind of do a little bit of protection here into the monthly close, and there actually is going to be a really easy way to kind of judge a or I wouldn't say macro reversal, but a decent reversal. And I'm talking about like looking for another one of those 20 to 30% downside movements, and that would be this: if Bitcoin does close the monthly anything like this, above $55,000 but below about $62,000, and then takes out the low side of this current month dildo at 51,500 on Bitstamp, I would be looking for big moves to the downside. Very likely Bitcoin comes back down, not just below $50,000, but probably $40,000 somewhere, finding rest somewhere around $35,000. And again, I know that does sound pretty damn crazy, but at the end of the day, it is a game of percentages right here, and that wouldn't be all that uncharacteristic for Bitcoin. That would be about a 35% pullback right there. And as we have seen in the past, all of these pullbacks within the context of macro cycle, and I'm not saying anything new here really, but all of these pullbacks have been around that taste. So if Bitcoin were to put in one of those, that would be around where I'm looking for. We can just measure out the last few cycles over here and look at some of those generational just pullbacks, right? And so you can see this one over here about 36 3/4. That looks rather familiar. This one over here about 36 3/4 as well. This one over here from top to bottom about 34.5%. This one over here about 33.5%. This one over here about 40 and some odd percent, and so on and so forth. I don't want to go through it too much. Bitcoin's already had one 30% plus pullback right here. This was coming off of January highs, of course, about about a 32 and and some odd change pullback right there. But other than that, we haven't really seen anything like too crazy. I suppose this one over here was rather nasty, but even on a weekly, this wasn't even like a short-term reversal, right? Although it was a 26.5% move to the downside. Anyways, my point is that if Bitcoin were to reverse right here, where would my natural targeted region be? It'd be somewhere maybe just below $40,000. In that pocketed region. We do see the 20 symbol coming around this region as well on the weekly, which Bitcoin does historically like to play off of in its greater bullish market. CC going all the way back to January 2012 over here. Does like to base around it in those bullish uptrends, and usually, or not usually, but every time that Bitcoin has gone for a macro reversal, Bitcoin trades below it for long periods at a time typically. Anyways, same thing over here in 2015 all the way to 2017, and then more recently, not all that many tests down to it, to be fair. But if Bitcoin did come back down to those levels, then we actually would officially get our first test on that one, and that kind of is your your classic region. So I want to be very specific with this. While I do think that that's possible coming into maybe what's the month after April? May. Yeah, May. It is very, 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 very unlikely to happen this month. This month is all set up, and first and foremost, as I've been saying on the monthly, I can't get bearish off something that looks like this, to be quite honest with you. If I even go down to a daily, does Bitcoin have a downtrend on the daily just yet? No, it does not, in fact. So the way that I look at this right now is that we don't have any confirmations on on an actual reversal just yet, except for very low term timeframes. Doesn't mean that there's a shit ton of opportunity right there, however. But if I am looking at the general trend, which I think a lot of people, especially in this community, are very much focused on, because I've kind of turned into a little more of a long-term trader myself as well, and this is the time to really be doing it when Bitcoin's having these massive moves to the upside, and if of course you'll get them to the downside too. But more importantly, with this one, in this context, with going to the upside, I do want to be erring on the side of that until proven otherwise. Now, could this be the point where Bitcoin gets proven otherwise? Yeah, absolutely. But remember, there's several things that I'm looking for to kind of denote a major macro cycle high within this current drive. And while I have put out a few videos on this, I suppose we could do like the top 3 ways that you can judge Bitcoin's next macro high, and as of right now, we actually technically don't even have any of them available, so I kind of spoiled surprise right there. But well, we could even extend this to 4. First and foremost, daily. If the daily is not a downtrend, I'm not calling any fucking major tops, especially not a macro top. And in this case right here, does Bitcoin have a chance to make a downtrend on the daily? It does, yes. Is it doing it as of this exact moment in time? No, it has not. Where would it confirm a daily downtrend? Well, where's your last higher low? Your last higher low is right here at about $56,000. So it will actually have a chance to do it today. Currently trading about $400, $500 below that region. Pretty much a fucking sneeze as far as Bitcoin's concerned. So until that actually happens, I wouldn't even be entertaining those thoughts of any prolonged downside. Now, the next 3 are significantly more important than that. And what they are is this. First, well, I wouldn't say first and foremost, but first and probably easiest would just be looking at the weekly RSI. Anytime that we see in the weekly RSI get into the deep 90s, and I'm talking like 92 plus really, or even just anywhere above the 90s, those have been warning signals, obviously. These coming in from your last major highs in, of course, February 2013. We have one in November 2013. Obviously, the one at $20,000 a few years ago. Hey, what's up, Tokyo Channel? Just a pullback, bro. No worries on this one, man. I'm BTFDing. Read that from Warren Buffett. And then actually, more recently, we did get above that region here too. And we have done that in the past without actually having a macro reversal. But this was your January pullback, right? And that was that was the first 35% correction within this market. So I don't necessarily look at this as fully concerning just yet. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is probably the most important thing that I'll talk about as far as judging a macro reversal. I really want to see weekly HVP get redlined here. And when I say redlined, I mean like at the very least above a 90 percentile. It'll even turn red on this one. Well, actually, yeah, above 90 percentile. We'll start to get red. Now, we are definitely creeping up there, and we have been creeping up there ever since, of course, August 2020, when Bitcoin really started to get moving there. However, it is, to put things in perspective, only at a high of this run at about 83.5 percentile on the weekly, and currently speaking, it's actually a little bit below there at about 78 or so. So with that in mind, I think that this is a macro cycle top right here. Extremely unlikely. No, I don't think it is. So all the bear Jesus talk is is mostly me just posturing right here. It's mostly just for fun, but as long as that condition is not met, I wouldn't even really entertain like a macro cycle high. But can a macro cycle high does a macro cycle high to you matter if perhaps if perhaps Bitcoin plays out one of those 30 to 35% pullbacks? Well, I would imagine for a lot of people no, or I'd imagine for a lot of people yes, and a lot of people no, right? A lot of people who've probably been in this market for a while and who are a little bit more mature in their investment decisions, probably not a big deal. For the people who are massively over leveraged, taking advantage of these wild west crypto exchanges, using 100x leverage and using that not as like a risk management tool, but like literally just so that they could buy as much as possible. well, for you, you're probably already fucked from this move last night, to be honest with you. I mean, to put this into perspective, thus far from top to bottom, what we've seen a 20% move. That's pretty fucking massive, actually. So with that said, again, I do think it's a bit premature to be turning around the macro. In fact, I'd feel very comfortable saying I would in no way, shape, or form call a macro top right now with the way that things are. However, the last thing that I'd postulate for a macro cycle top to kind of like judge if this is happening or not is this: does Bitcoin have a downturn on the weekly? And of course, that's going to be the last thing that actually does happen, but that's going to be the thing that fully confirms everything, at least for myself, because that's been perfect for throughout the history of Bitcoin's trajectory. I mean, anytime that Bitcoin's seen a reversal on the weekly with higher highs and higher lows, or lower lows and lower highs, those have been your macro cycle reversals. And in this case right here, again, nowhere near doing that. Bitcoin's last higher low is, I mean, if you're aggressive, you'd say 45,500. If you're more conservative, you'd say this area right here. Technically speaking, though, is this a higher low? It's actually not, because you don't really have a stop and reverse point from that actual high. I'm sure that someone will say, but Krown, it goes immediately down and then back up. Yeah, but you really want to see, like a series of dildos to fully confirm those sort of pivot points. And I don't see it right there. You see it over here. Yes. 1, 2 down, boom, puts in a low, boom, reverses. There you go. That's certainly a higher low. Now, if we go down to like a 2-day or a 3-day, then yes, absolutely. You do have a low right here, but actually your last higher low would be right here. So both your 2-day and your 3-day higher lows are going to be coming in from 51,600-ish region. And that is going to be the next big warning signal. Obviously leading into the weekly, as the lower term timeframes are going to precipitate that, obviously. So again, I do want to bring everything back here because at the end of the day, I do think that this market still is more or less trading sideways within a range, and I do remain long-term bullish. Again, as long as we don't see anything that resembles a macro reversal, which I don't believe that we have just yet. But I do think that this is a little bit of a reality check for a lot of those people who are sending me very interesting comments. It's very aggressive too, man. Like, people get like mean, just fucking mean. If you suggest that their $250,000 target is in your opinion a little bit unlikely within 1 year. Anyways, as you can see right here, Bitcoin's going to be fucking whippy, man. That is the name of the game. This is a very immature asset. It's very, 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 very young, and I mean, this thing's probably going to take like 10, 20, 30 years before it really gets into like that matured space that I think a lot of people are hoping happens at the end of this year. These things take time, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I just fucking hate that people like have to have. It's like, why does Bitcoin have to hit $250,000 at the end of this year? Why is that so important? It's probably going to do it over time, but this year, why? I just don't understand. Like, what is the psychological pushback on a statement like that, just from someone expressing a different opinion? I would love to know, because at the end of the day, man, if you truly believe that something's going to happen to the point where like you're going to fucking disparage them over the internet, you probably feel confident enough to take the trade, right? So if you're going to do that, then why not take the fucking trade and make money and not care about someone else's opinion? I mean, that would seem quite logical to myself, but I think it's more of an emotional thing rather than a logical thing. Anyways, I'm getting way off track here. Let's go down to the lower term timeframes and let's come up with some ranges here, because there is going to be a lot of opportunity on the short term timeframes. Okay, Bitstamp getting some crazy wicks right there. I don't think that that's going to be the norm for most exchanges. Just going from BitMEX to Coinbase. Actually, all exchanges are kind of are shaping up to look completely different. This is very concerning right here. This is actually very concerning. So perhaps I did speak a little bit soon, because when I look at Finex, when I look at Stamp, And was it Coinbase as well? Yeah, Coinbase as well. No, sorry, Coinbase does not fulfill this condition. But if I look at Finex and Stamp, they actually have already taken out their March lows, March 25th lows, which is actually pretty damn concerning. But we don't see consensus among the major exchanges here. And again, with this move happening over a weekend, I'm extremely skeptical of it. As far as like producing a mega reversal, a MAC reversal in this case. Typically, the moves over the weekend do get reversed when the real trading week comes, especially if that reversal over the weekend was contrary to the prior week's direction, or just the daily trend and the weekly trend in this case. And all of these are one and the same right now. So I am very, very skeptical on that. Why? Because Stone Cold said so. Stone Cold Steve Austin, he did it? Oh man, I didn't know that he was into trading too. Felipe says DeFi bids, auction of crypto packages and NFTs. That sounds like an advertisement. Sir, what the fuck? Hey, what's up, Alex Switch? There he is, our lovely moderator. Actually, are you modded on YouTube? I believe you are. By the way, Jewel gave a perfect signal on the daily with double trouble spinning top. Let's see. Actually, didn't catch them myself. Hey, yeah, you are right. I typically don't. I typically don't fuck with these signals over the weekend, to be honest with you. BitMEX has pretty much a perfect one there, yeah. So for the Cavalier traders who were taking that, hey, congratulations, man. I traditionally do not like those over the weekend, however. Anyways, so my point is, or sorry, before I get to my point, let's go down to the short-term time frames over here. I'll use BitMEXco for this one because I do think that it is still one of the better ones to kind of be looking at. And what do we have if we put on our drawing tools right now? Yeah, we do have a clear breakage of structure on our short-term time frame from yesterday, obviously. So remember yesterday in the video that apparently did not work for most people using Apple devices. I don't know why you're using an Apple device to begin with, but that's another conversation for some other time. But what did we say? Elsa said, "Buh." What the fuck was that? Oh, you said lol. Elsa's hurt her lower back, so she's walking around like a granny with a ton of pain pills and whatnot. And give me the look right now, but she's in good spirits though. She's in good spirits. Anyways, yes. So what was the condition that we let out yesterday on the video that apparently people could not watch, and then I remade a video a little bit later, which unfortunately was just way too short. But looking at this area right here, yeah, obviously we took out the what was it, the 16th of April low. And that was a condition for breaking down to the next level, of which I had that at about, I was saying between 57.5 and, so yes, 57.5 and 58,000 bucks. That got absolutely fucking massacred, murdered, just annihilated right there. And this is the exact reason why I don't trade on a weekend. I don't think that my technical analysis edge is going to be as good on a weekend. It generally gets diminished. And in this case right here, that would have been a fucking terrible trade if I actually did buy that area right there, obviously. But of course, the breakdown condition was met, and the breakdown condition was the more important thing in this context. And as it stands right now, you can see that we do have a few competing trend lines going on right here. I'm actually going to get rid of this diagonal one, not because I don't think that it's relevant. It's just not relevant for this time frame that was made on a daily. However, before we do that, what I would say is, if we can bring this onto a daily, what I'd go as far as saying here is that dependent upon today's daily total closure, I would denote that as likely the next sort of medium-term break. What does that mean? That means that if Bitcoin does close above this pivot, and it's just right there at about 56,000 bucks. I mean, we're pretty much flirting around with it as of the current second. Then I would be looking at Bitcoin as still kind of caught within this range here, and you still got your higher low structure, and I don't really see that as like a major issue, technically speaking. Now, if we see something like that, or especially coming into Monday, Bitcoin actually cracks below that region and close below that region, or you could even just use the 55 exponential average right here. I mean, they're all kind of coming in with the same area alongside the 2-spot 414 Fibonacci extension. Then yes, I'm going to be looking for another retest, of the lows, pretty much around the low of this dump. Maybe not the full extent of the dump, but somewhere around about 52,000 bucks where I'd be looking towards, just around here towards the 26th of March, 25th of March lows from just a month ago. So at least for now, I'd give it a chance to bounce. And personally speaking, do I think that it bounced from here? Yes, I do. I do think that it will bounce from here. It's going to spend a little bit of time going sideways, probably going to make you hold your breath again by maybe touching back down somewhere around 54.5 to 54,000 bucks even. But overall, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to mount a little bit of a bouncy bounce from here, as momentum oscillators do kind of have a bit of a reset. Whether you're bullish or bearish, I do think this is a little bit of an exaggerated response, to be honest with you. And just kind of as like a general knowledge right here for Trollinger Bands, a lot of the time when you see something like this, where you got like a clear move outside and then you got like this wick that tries to get in, that can be a little bit of an early signal of a new base being built. In this case, again, this one's being done on volume. For reference on this, if we go to BitMexico, this is thus far printing 1.25 billion in the last what is it, almost 3 hours actually. Yeah, 1.25 billion traded at this level, and on the actual dump itself, to put things in perspective, 2.36 billion were traded in 4 hours. So it is, it is starting to get up there, of course, especially with another hour to go till closure. And if we go down to the very low term timeframes, you're going to see a little bit of a sideways range here. I imagine between about 56.5 and our current lows. Yeah, somewhere around about 54 to 54.5 ish region. And then ultimately, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to try another move back up somewhere around the 200 simple to 200 exponential average. Keep in mind, we are going to have a pretty massive gap, assuming that things do, stay around here for open for CMEs later today. With CME closure on Friday, as that did close pretty much right below $62,000. I mean, we could just say $62,000 and that would be fair enough. So with that in mind, again, I do hesitate to get like fully bearish just based off of the move that we saw, especially yesterday on a Saturday evening, Sunday morning, and of course within the context of a generational uptrend. I do want to err on the side of boo laws here first, and while I do think that Bitcoin's going to test you and probably make you hold your breath a few more times, I do think that ultimately it's very unlikely that we're looking at a macro reversal. If anything, we are looking at probably like a major reversal, of which that would be one of those 35, maybe even 40% pullbacks, at which point I'd be, like I said, targeting moves a little bit below $40,000, so anywhere between about $40,000 and $35,000. And I do think that would be like the next sort of basing region. But for right now, looking at the way that CME closed, I have no major issues with this, to be honest with you. Hidden bullish divergences, several drives here on the 4 hour specifically. Even the 4 hour TSI, I believe, is actually, no, it's not going to be hitting a trend line, although our trend line is coming much, much further south. Let's go with what the daily's saying as well. I mean, daily still above all major moving averages. So, I really want to see how this one opens up into Monday. I think it's a little bit too premature to really be calling anything specific off this, in its current state, especially on, a non-traditional day. So with that said, if I had to kind of wrap up my short-term thoughts, Bitcoin plays a little bit of a short-term range here. We could even chart this one out. Let me just, okay, this is going to get like really fucking, should I do it on this chart? It's already way too, what, I'll do it on Finex chart because it's going to be a little bit easier. Short-term range, pretty damn simple right there. 56.5 to the upside versus about 54 to the downside, a little bit above 54 to the downside. And I would be looking for Bitcoin, bless you, sir. And I would be looking for Bitcoin to probably play out another few moves down to the, somewhere around the bottom side of the range. Maybe another one to the top side of the range, but ultimately I do think that Bitcoin does get another bounce attempt here. Momentum oscillators are just absolutely fucking wrecked beyond belief right there. Put things in perspective. Let's go check it out on this chart right here. Yeah, we do see the hourly actually playing off the same trend line that's been getting the last few lows for the last day or so. It's only an hourly at the end of the day, so it's not gonna be tracking all that much. But if we bring that up to the bi-hourly, it's following through with it as well. Triple hourly doing the same thing, and 4 hour looking like it's gonna have a similar chance here too. This one obviously is going to is going to be testing this trend line from our last couple lows over the last month or so, going back to 25th of March. So I would be looking for a little bit of short-term bottoming activity somewhere around here. Hey, what's up, Julian? Is this dump coming from a single address, sir? I suspect that you oh man, oh god. Okay, sir. It's like it's an intuitive question, but come on, man. If it is, how would anything for you change in life? That'd be my question to you, sir. That'd be my question to you. Look, I'm not trying to make an example of you, but it's a dump coming from a single address. There's so many things wrong with that question. I don't know where to start. My question to you would be, why would that matter, and how would that change your behaviors? That's obviously a facetious answer. To answer your question directly, obviously fucking not, man. A dump comes from, buys and sells on an actual exchange account. like, is it coming from a single wallet? Well, I don't know, man. We don't necessarily get to track exactly what someone does on exchange, right? You can only see, you know, the actual trades coming in, as you see over here on the dashboard. And do those come with an identification? No, they don't. Does it matter? No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Hey, what's up, Zebrex? Must be the market those goddamn market manipulators in Wales. Yeah, those whales manipulating everyone to sell their cones. That's right. They've gone into your brains. They've implanted those little fucking slathery fuckers from Baldur's Gate into your brain now, and they can mind control you. You know what's actually funny? You know those like earwig things? I used to like, they're little like insects. When I was little, I used to think that like they would crawl inside your ear and then control your brain like fucking SpongeBob or something. Anyways, that is way off topic right now. WTF bro says, is this exactly as predicted? No, I would say that I certainly did not predict this at all. I don't really have too many predictions to be made on a weekend, but what I did say yesterday was that if we took out the low of this structure right here, Bitcoin's going to come down probably to 57.5 to 58,000 bucks. We didn't just come down there; we fucking shattered that region. So no, I'd certainly not say exactly as predicted. Mr. Rowe says, Mark B. Mum sat on my sell button last night. Sorry. Oh, fuck. Now I know where those red dildos are coming from. It must be Mark B's mum at it again, selling Bitcoins because she's a fucking whale. God damn it, Mark B. And why does it have to be your mum? Hey, what's up, Abs? Nero Strutton says, bruh, did you cause the dump with your whale friends in Europe? That's right, man. I consulted all of the whales and I said, look, guys, look. All right, I know this sounds crazy, my whale friends, even though you speak English, but if we all dump at the same time, then we can buy lower. And then everyone agreed, and then everyone did it at the exact same time. It's fucking crazy, man. We could just collude perfectly. It's like, first off, I'm not a whale myself. There's like a person who's a whale. They have like 1,000 Bitcoin plus in my opinion. I mean, shit, man. Some people even have like 10,000 bucks. Sailor has like what 70,000 fucking Bitcoin. But you know, when people talk about silly shit like that, they've clearly not thought these things through. Look, if it only takes one person in that collusion to not agree with you and motivated by financial opportunities, they could absolutely wipe out you and take all the money for themselves. I mean, why not? They're already doing something incredibly greedy to begin with. You know, it's a career-ending move potentially to collude in that way, and that's what I think a lot of people don't get, especially when people like talk about the fucking market makers, which is ridiculous to begin with. What they really mean is market movers, and market movers colluding in order to run price action one way or the other. Look, man, the problem with being a whale is that you actually don't know if you're a whale. The reason why you don't know if you're a whale is because anyone can enter this market at any fucking time. There is nothing stopping some sort of Russian oligarch, massive rich person who's probably not even included on the top 10 or on like the richest people in the world list because they're doing nefarious things. There's nothing stopping that person from just market buying whatever amount that they want or selling whatever amount that they want, and you have no clue that they even exist. It doesn't, people don't think about these things, for the love of God. Anyways, Sailor is a pirate. He's like a pirate, like an ARG pirate. Panor says, your hair is an eagle. Your argument is invalid. Sir, my hair is not a bird. It's not a fucking bird, man. Do I look like a fucking bird? Elsa says my hair looks like a bird's nest. Your hair looks like a rat's ass. Oh boy, having a little bit of fun. Dear Russians, please pump Bitcoin back up. But yeah, man, that's my point. Is like a lot of people don't think about that, right? They think in very simplistic terms that like everyone could just kind of collude with each other and then that is going to go over no problem. No, of course not, man. Of course not. Like it really only takes one person to fuck with you, and at the end of the day, you don't even know who else is a whale out there who could disagree with you, or a group of people as well on the other side who can really basically end your career if you get things wrong. Let's see. Tokyo Channel says, when things go bad, people need to find someone or something else to blame, which is why these conspiracies pop up. Just relax, everyone. Yeah. But I'm not giving up the fucking conspiracy about the 5G, man. What the fuck happened with that one? Hey, why are these 5G towers going up in coronavirus starting? It's like, oh boy. Okay, wrong conversation to be getting into. And now I am banned again from YouTube. Shamel says nothing because I can't come up with his message. There he is. Let's all admit the dump was because of Krown's hair. No, it wasn't, man. I swear. It's not my hair. It's not. I swear. Yeah, man. Everyone wants a financial boogeyman. Everyone wants like a boogeyman to blame things on. Not everyone, but it's very common, right? But that's a part of the sort of mentality that you don't want to get fucking caught in, obviously, right? Because what sort of mentality is that? That mentality is like there's some sort of invisible hand who's always guiding everything, and it actually gives people a sense of comfort because they feel like there's a reason and there's like some sort of a conspiracy against them and their success. No, man. At the end of the day, most things in life are random, unfortunately. and to blame the boogeyman, whether it's a financial boogeyman or whatever your issues might be, it's very convenient, but it's also very lazy, and unfortunately it is the worst resolution for any issue that you might have in your life. And the reason for that is because every time that you pass off blame to someone, you pass off the responsibility. And if you pass off the responsibility, then you give yourself an excuse as to why you were not responsible, and thus you do not have to change. And if you don't have to change, then you will not fucking change, because change takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus and a lot of dedication. It happens over a long period of time, and people generally don't want to do that. I don't want to do that either. I don't want to take myself out of this equation either. I am a fucking person. I feel these that sort of same goddamn things. But hopefully with a little bit of mindfulness, hopefully with a little bit of meditation, a little bit of journaling, can kind of get over these things, I suppose, or at least put a bit of a limit on them, or some sort of a lid on them. But that is kind of what I'm getting at, is like this, blaming things on the financial boogeyman is a loser's game. It doesn't help you, even if it is true, even if it quite literally is someone else's fault. Like they mind controlled you into doing something that you wouldn't have otherwise done. It's still better to take responsibility in those situations, because at the very least you'll be in a position to change for the better for later in the future, so that it does not happen again. Because again, it doesn't matter whose fault it is, really. I mean, it's your life at the end of the day. You could, and I'll give you an example right now. And this is probably a very pertinent example, and I apologize profusely if this is a very not like a little bit of a too soon example, right? How about that? Because I know that a few people in this community were very likely affected by this. And let's go with the dump last night, right? You could have been on an exchange. I think I read about someone who had a stop market. A stop market. You think you are safe from the market's moves. Your exchange is going to take you out of that position at the exact price that you denote, and you had a stop market somewhere around like 59,500, right? 59,500. That was way the fuck on over here, right? That was way the hell back on over here. And what happened? That person went to bed probably and was like, no problem. I'll just lock in those profits from the longs that I had way long ago at 50,000 bucks. Okay, that's $10,000 gain, even if I get hit on my stop, and all good. Well, guess what happens on Bybit? That person, when price action starts approaching their price, because their system, because their engine was so overloaded, or whatever the hell issues that it did have, whether it's intentional or not, I'd imagine it's probably not intentional, because exchanges don't want bad reputations either. But that person's stop loss gets executed not at 59,500, but at 55,000 bucks, a $4,500 difference. And that, during that whole time, Bitcoin's doing all this right here, right? It's not good. It's not good at all. So my point is that, if you are in a situation like that, it's certainly a painful lesson. Absolutely. I've had this happen to myself, in the past before. And for the most part, what the solution is you either get off that exchange and go with something that has, a better track record, or you accept that can actually happen. And if you're going to accept that something like that can happen, well, you can't fucking complain about it, or at least you realize that complaining about it is even more of a waste of time, I suppose. So yeah, unfortunately, that is going to be a reality for a lot of people, especially in the last 24 hours. And again, I'm not trying to sound callous or tone deaf here. I know that those things suck. I know that those things are just fucking awful, but But that is the reality of this, of this whole situation. Understand that one of the reasons why I don't trade over the weekend is because I mean, sometimes you get shit like this, but it just in general, I don't think that technical analysis as an edge works as well over the weekend. So I just decided not to trade it. That's my response to something like that in a situation when I don't really have control over it, right? WTF Bro says, Krown, Barra, Bula, and Go Jesus dumped Bitcoin. They all hate Bitcoin. They've all forsaken us. MF Pump, what's up, MF Pump? Doggy USD, please, sir. Sure, man. I've been hearing around the spheres that Doggy Coin actually held up rather well, but I haven't checked myself, and it did. Phenomenal. But Doggy Coin is a real Bitcoin. That is insane. Doggy Coin's just putting in a higher low right here. Doggy Coin strong as fuck. Doggy Coin gives no fuck. Doggy Coin is the real Bitcoin. And it doesn't matter that's a pump and dump. It doesn't fucking matter. This one's going to the goddamn moon. No, I do think that it deserves a little bit of respect here. Yeah, man, getting reaccumulated on the 4-hour 21. That's not bearish. I'd be looking for this one to trade sideways. 25-cent low versus 32.5-cent high. And as long as it's as long as it's kind of baking within there, I look at that as more or less a bullish consolidation and reaccumulation, getting ready for another test at those prior highs. That is powerful as hell right there. That is so strange. Is there any other coins in this market that are doing something similar to that right now? That would be a good question. That'd be a really good question as I kind of peruse around here. But again, I should also get onto another reason why I'm a little bit hesitant to get like full on bearish on Bitcoin. And when I say full on bearish on Bitcoin, I mean like looking for like a major macro reversal. And that is because of the way that NASDAQ closed out last week, and of course SPY as well, and Dow Jones as well. All these have strong correlations to Bitcoin, and I just have not found too much success in being bearish on those and being bullish on Bitcoin and vice versa. So with that in mind, I do look at this as kind of a weekend washout move first and foremost until this actually does until this actually does get a reversal on a regular trading day week. Monday through Friday, obviously. Anyways, let's see. Okay, already. Okay, man, I missed a lot of comments right there. Hey, what's up, Decentralized? There he is, my fucking man. I closed my positions a few days ago. I'm really happy this morning. Yeah, man, I typically do the same thing, or at least I de-risk long-term positions into the weekend pretty much always. Let's see. Nate says, hey, Nate? It has been a while, man. Good to see you. Wait, what the fuck? Is PHP Philippines? You're in the Philippines now? What the fuck, man? You're all over the place. Can you check Mr. Beaterall? Sure, man. Also 12-hour Stokes trendline on Bitcoin. What WDYT? I don't know what WDYT means. But you're talking about this one over here that we called out yesterday. I believe we are just about hitting it right now, in fact. So yeah, remember, we spoke about this yesterday, right? We spoke about this trend line right here from yesterday, coming in on 25th of March lows, connected with our 8th of April lows, and then once again, testing it now officially today, right around the edge of the bearish control zone. So this would be a pretty damn good area to have a bit of a turnaround if that does want to play. So I look at this as a little bit of a cause to pause a little bit with getting like full on bearish, at least for the time being. Like I said, if Bitcoin starts to close daily totals below $56,000, especially during the regular trading week, yes, I'm happy to start to look for one of those 25 to 30% moves to the downside. But for right now, this still looks a little bit more like a weekend washout to me, just a very fucking aggressive one, which we haven't seen in a very long time actually. Anyways, okay, so you're saying checking on Mr. Beaterall. Yeah, we can certainly do that. Let's go over here. Beaterall 22. Oh my God. Holy shit. Okay, so here's also another just general bit of market knowledge. When you see something like this, where a singular dildo has a 17.5% move to the downside, for example, and then still within that same day, and this day is far from over, to be fair, or sorry, this is a 12 hour, so the 12 hours is obviously extremely far away from being done, or sorry, not extremely, but a little bit less, so 4 hours, 46 minutes and 32 seconds away to be exact. And that 17.5% move to the downside now gets bought up to the point where it's only 5.5%, down from last closure. I look at that as, a signal in and of itself. Again, off of a major moving average right here, off of major structure as well. That is your last major low, I believe, on a daily. Yes, indeed it is. That would be your 1950-ish region. I'm going to look at that first and foremost as well as as a little bit of bullish buying, actually, to be quite honest with you. So again, I do hesitate to get like full on bearish on something like this. Let's check out what the weekly looks like. Weekly's a little bit more toppy looking as of its current stature, but with 16.5 hours left to go in the trading day, I think it's a little bit too early to call that, especially after a rather volatile morning. So it's not the best time to be analyzing something like that, in my opinion. Looking at the 2-day, looking at the 3-day. Again, bit of, testing down to the 10 simple right there, and then back up really fucking quick over the weekend. I'm going to hesitate a bit more to get bearish on this, at least in the time being. But just like Bitcoin, it does have a range here on the short-term timeframes. Short-term timeframe range to the upside is going to be capped at about 2250-ish region, versus to the downside a little bit more difficult. But I do think that we could be using about $2,100 to the downside short term, based off of a 4-hour right there. Alrighty, cool. Turkey's banned from transacting in Bitcoin? Is Thanksgiving canceled? Those bastards, how dare they? Hey, what's up, Octay? Feel free to have a message, man. I'd love to have an ongoing conversation, but looks like I don't see anything from you right there. M. Aurora says Krown's hair is bearish. Not financial advice, but would you recommend buying some of alts that are down as much as 30%? Okay, well, I really want to get away from like actual financial advice, because that is pretty hard to differentiate from real financial advice. Give me a fucking ticker, man. How about that? I'd imagine here's the thing. Whatever alts have been acting the best during this dump, like actually Dogecoin, funnily enough, meaning that they didn't come down as much as Bitcoin, or maybe they even held their ground, they're going to be the first ones to make new highs if and when Bitcoin does turn around. So I'd say keep an eye out for that. So it's just, general stuff. For the ones that got absolutely shellacked even more than Bitcoin, those are not the ones that I'd be focusing on at all. I would expect like some like Link perhaps, and I haven't even looked at Link today, probably held up okay. And yeah, this one's already kind of getting back a decent amount of that dump as well, similar to Ethereum. This one had about a, wow, almost 27% down right there, and now recovered just below 10%. So pretty damn decent. Again, it is it is a rather long day, but at least for now, I do hesitate to really put the nail in the coffin on a lot of these things. Okay, cool. All right, let's see. Goddamn, there's like actual fucking like cheerleaders in the comments now. FIFA v Pax wants everyone to buy SafeMoon. Well, that's a sign of a really good coin. Hey, here's a good rule of thumb. If you see someone like shilling things on fucking YouTube comments of all places, probably not going to be legitimate. Probably not what you want to be getting into, in my experience. I mean, you got to be thinking about that. What sort of projects need to do something like that? Well, I don't see people doing that for Bitcoin. I don't see people doing that for Ethereum. I don't see people doing that for, I don't know, what are the other legit? I don't see people doing that for Dogecoin, But you see that for like, I've seen a lot of scammers with like Zilliqa in my comments, like this RV13 thing. It's like all these weird ticker symbols. But yeah, fair enough. Anyways, okay, moving on. Let's see what else we got, man. Miguel Simoes says, Krown, I messed up and bought TVK BTC Binance one day at 1400 sats. All right, let's check this one out. Okay, so this one's already off to a good start. Krown, I messed up. Oh boy. Well, luck. Well, okay, so you bought at 1400 satoshis. All right, so you are never gonna see any green again. Sorry. Should I take the loss and go to other alts? Hold insight. Okay, so I'll spend a little bit of time on this one. And again, I say this with love. Okay, so when you ask me a question like that, the problem with asking a question like that is that I can never give you a good answer, because you haven't really given me any specifics about yourself. And even then, it would probably not be wise for me to give you like a specific answer anyways, because that's like quite literally financial fucking advice, which is kind of illegal, as I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a trader, man, just a simple trader. But when you say, should I take the loss, go to other alts, hold insight, I don't know what the fuck you're trying to do, man. I don't know if you're trying to hold this one for the next 5 years, 10 years, for the next year, for the next five minutes. Maybe you're day trading it. I don't know. It sounds like you're definitely not day trading it, because you definitely missed your exit quite some time ago. But there's one big piece of knowledge that I learned from my mentor early on, and it was something that I didn't really fully internalize until like a couple laters after he fucking drilled it into my head. And it was this: when you do something wrong, the best thing to do is then do something right. And what's the best thing to do after you, like, obviously you've done something wrong over here. You bought at 1400 satoshis. You literally bought the fucking downtrend. You bought the fucking downtrend. You know, what's the best thing to do in this situation? The best thing to do in this situation is get the fuck out of bullshit like this, man. TVK, BTC, this thing has barely any history, and the history that it does have is just straight down. It's bad. It's nasty. It's likely a shit coin. This thing only goes down, man. And how do you get price action like this on a coin that's so young? Well, the only way that you get price action like this on a coin that's so young is, well, by having a lot of supply. Who has the most supply in this? Well, probably the early pre-ICO investors, probably the founders, all those guys and more, they are selling. And so what does that tell you? That the earliest people in this one, and probably even the founders as well, are selling on your face. It means that those people don't believe in their fucking project. And for some of those people, that might be like their own project. So I don't know what kind of led you to get into this to begin with, but as far as looking at this, do I think that it's going to bounce around? Yeah, you're going to see bounces around here, man. You know, very, 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 very likely. But this thing even getting back above 1,100 satoshis anytime soon, I do not think is very likely. I think that this thing continues on with the down, and I think that this thing is more or less something that I'd like to avoid like the fucking plague. Not even showing any divergences here as it stands. Well, actually, no. Technically, you potentially could make some right here, but this is continuation for right now, man. I just don't trust this bullshit, man. I really don't trust this bullshit. Should you go to other alts? What else would you go to? What else would you go to? I mean, why do you need to go to other alts? What exactly are you trying to do? It doesn't sound like you're trying to trade. It sounds like you're trying to, you know, catch the 100x train to the heavens within the next month. I think that that's a loser's game, to be honest with you. I think that you kind of missed the mania for this second. You know, best case scenario for Bitcoin right now is probably sideways and spending a little bit more time within a range here. Okay, let's see what else we got, baby. What else do we got? Julian is back. He says, look at EarnX. Okay, so Julian was here earlier. And I think he had okay, first off, man, you can't get EarnX on TradingView because it's probably too big of a shitcoin. Unfortunately, I can look it up on CoinDerpo, but I don't. If it's not even there, then that's going to be extremely bad. Let's see, it's not even on there, so I wouldn't even know where to get this one, man. That's probably not a good sign if it's not. I mean, like even TradingView hosts this piece of shit, man. So if it's not hosting your piece of shit, that's usually not going to be a good sign, unless if it's like extremely young, of which I don't know the case on that one. So maybe I shouldn't. You know, maybe I'm speaking a little bit too soon, but in that case, man, unfortunately, we can't even look at it. So fair enough. Okay, cool. All right, let's see what else we got, baby. Let's see what else we got. I see Filson. Can we see BNB? Yeah, we can see BNB. Let's see if this one's acted like a good little boy during the old dumpola, the old dumparoo, and BNB on Binance. This one looks a lot more like, well, that's a 4-hour. Daily just coming down to the 21, bouncing. I don't see anything majorly wrong with that as it is. Now, yes, I do see a head and shoulders on daily RSI here. But could you argue that that move's already played out? Yeah, I think you very well could. Let's see what the weekly looks like. Weekly looks a little bit toppy, yeah. Yeah, okay. So Filson, what I'd say about this one long term is if you see the weekly close like this, if you see the weekly close, especially below like 520, and then we come down next week and take out the current low of about 425, I would be looking for this one to then have a major move to the downside. That actually would confirm this is bearish divergence on a weekly, and I'd be looking for a move all the way down to 230-ish region. But that's pretty well and far away, man. I mean, that's going to require a lot of patience. For right now, I just look at this as a test down to the 21, and then I look for Bitcoin, to resolve direction. And this one also was, I would put it in the category of better actors here. This one didn't really have too much of a downside. It looks like at first outset. Okay, no, it did have some pretty nasty downside, 18% to the downside versus 9.5 of what it's recovering right now. So it's kind of in the middle of the pack as far as what Bitcoin, as far as what Bitcoin's done as well. So at the end of the day, this one, is long term looking a little bit better just because it's just coming down to the 21 right here, and I don't look at that as anything too concerning, but overall, man, I look for Bitcoin to give the direction and then that weekly condition to essentially judge a reversal. And I wouldn't really be making any macro decisions before that is resolved. Until then, actually, I'd just be looking for sideways and maybe another try to the upside. But again, weekly reversal conditions are very, very clear. And we're going to find out this week. Oktay Babayev says, Russians sold Bitcoin to buy vodka. Let's hodl hands and pray to Bula Jesus to return me to my rent money. Give it back, you Russian oligarchs, you bastards. Oh my god, yeah, man. There's like actually people showing their coins now in the comments. This is this is great. Mr. Pedro, you know what to do, my friend. You know what to do. Gus says the dump came with 40% hash rate drop due to the blackout in China. Willie posted some charts about it on Twitter with checking out the correlation. Yeah, I mean that's not necessarily my game looking at fundamentals there, but you know, that would be pretty damn interesting because we haven't really heard anything about blackouts in China as far as that goes. You know, I think the current narrative is that the investigations into exchanges is kind of like the major concerning thing. So I do think that would be very much worth checking out. But if that's true, I mean, if that's true where there's a blackout in China, I mean, that makes total sense. That actually is like a legitimate issue. You know, that's not just like a fundamental, that's like a tangible issue with, you know, actual supply right now. Anyways, moving on to Super Googly says, Super Googly, I just picked up a bunch of alts that had double-digit percentage down and I'm in good gains now. Should I exit now or wait for further bounce? You know, again, man, I'm not here to do your trading for you. I don't even know what the fuck you got into. I don't know what the fuck you're looking for. I don't know what the fuck you know you're looking at. It becomes very difficult to answer a high consciousness question like that in the moment without like any real information. But you know, my general perception on altcoins is that I don't really want to be in them. I want to be, you know, especially during you know, a potential reversal here, even though I have kind of expressed that I don't necessarily think that this is it just yet. Could be this week, but yeah, man, I'd be of the opinion take the money home and enjoy it, at least for now. You know, you're very likely going to get another chance at those, maybe not at you know, exactly those lows, but perhaps if Bitcoin came back down and tested around 54.5, you know, you're probably going to get another swipe at those, you know, at those if you really like them anyways. So what my general answer would be? My general answer would be take profits and just look for the next setup, the next opportunity. It sounds like you did some good right there. So the next thing to do is realize that, at least in the way that I do things, and then look for the next opportunity. So with that said, I hopefully added a little bit of value to that, but I don't know so much. I don't know so much just because again, there's not really any specifics on what you said there, so that makes it very difficult for me to like actually narrow down an answer. Jimmy Brand says thoughts on Tron. I can give you my thoughts on Tron, but it'd be a really good idea to include like a time frame, so I can give you my thoughts pertinent to that time frame. Tron here, actually holding up decently well in this dump here too. Only down to the 21 and a very good recovery thus far above all major movement averages. It's starting to make me think that Bitcoin is not going to be bearish from here. Bitcoin probably does get reaccumulated and try again higher if I had to guess. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly looks a little bit more toppy, to be fair. You know, selling off of the retest of the prior time high. This is usually not going to be long-term bearish though. And when I say long-term bearish, I mean like putting in a major reversal right here, coming back up and retesting your prior all-time highs. Almost always leads to new all-time highs over time. Yes, you know, double top is a thing in the short term, which is, I believe, what we're seeing right now. But as long as this one holds structure at about 11 cent, I'd actually be looking for this one to create a bit of a range and then try again to the upside, probably to new all-time highs. That'd just be this area right here, 11 cents. Would be where I start to turn like actually bearish on it, looking for, you know, big moves down. And when I say big moves down, I mean like, you know, a 40% move down to like 7.5 cents or so. Mohammed Shaikh says, hey Krown, can you take a look at Woo USD on Huobi Woo. All right, here we go. Woo trade. Woo. Oh, that's funny. Wow, great recovery here too, man. Again, a better actor, certainly. I really like this one as far as what it's doing right now. Never fucking seen it in my life, but this thing only goes up, at least for the history that we have, which admittedly is not much, only going back to October 2020. But yeah, man, I'd be looking for this one to actually try higher here. 113, probably retest the prior all-time high, probably makes new all-time highs, man. This is a really good response thus far. There's no reason to be bearish on this thing, even on a 4 hour, as long as it's above what, 71 cent? Yeah, 71.5 cent would be my stop for, or sorry, not my stop, but my low structure for this one on a 4 hour. This is a really fucking good response right here, man. Even hidden bullish divergence already kind of building up here too. So yeah, man, I actually kind of like that one for what it's worth. Yeah, it's definitely one of the it's probably the strongest recovery that I've seen thus far. This one's actually back in the green. So yes, and credit to you, man, for calling that one out. This is actually one of the big values for myself in doing these streams, is that, you know, I get to look at stuff that I otherwise wouldn't even be remotely aware of. And it gives me a better insight in the market because, you know, the market more or less moves with each other. In this case, this one is definitely having the best recovery that I've seen thus far. Hey, what's up, Natalie? How you doing, Natalie? Cardano derp. Cardano derp. Binance derp. 1 hour derp. Day derp. Week derp. All right, I got some Cardano derpos over here. Binance, hourly derp, day derp, week derp. All right, gotcha. Hourly derp, very similar to Bitcoin in that same range. 56.5 to the upside would be the same thing as like 128 here. And to the downside, I'd say 16.5 would be your downside range, similar to Bitcoin at around 54,000 bucks. So I imagine it's going to follow whatever Bitcoin does for the most part. Just kind of perusing around the different timeframes here, though. What is a daily doing? Daily is, daily's having a decent recovery thus far as well. I mean, this one had what, a 24.5% down, now recovering about just below 9 or around 9.5. So that's a decent recovery right there. What does a weekly look like? Yeah, again, I struggle to get bearish on this as far as weekly goes, at least for right now. You know, my congestion for getting bearish on this one is going to be very, 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 very easy coming into next week. You know, if this thing closes like this, or regardless of whether this thing closes like this or not, if this thing comes back down next week after getting the new weekly and takes out the current low at 104, yeah, I'm going to be calling this reversal. Look for a quick move down to 80 cents and probably continuation on top of that. But is that what it's, you know, is that what it's suggesting right now as far as the daily goes? The daily looks like it's just creating a sideways range right here and using this sort of low structure. We didn't even test it. Hold on, I need to make a new chart on this one. This one is way too fucking convoluted, and we realistically only need a couple areas here to mark off. And what I'd be marking off is this area and this area on the daily. And thus far, fine as far as I'm concerned. Looking at a 4 hour even, as long as this thing recovers above the 200 simple and 200 exponential average, I look at sideways here as more or less okay. Below this area though, I'd be willing to call reversals, or on the weekly if we come back down and take out the current low. Whichever one happens first, either a 4 hour close below this region, again 103, or just a weekly wick below. Well, I guess the weekly wick below is gonna obviously happen first anyway. So yeah, at that point I'd be willing to call like major reversal. But until then, this still looks like a consolidation at a high level. Don't really have a major. While I do think that the run is nearing an end somewhat soonish, I don't think that it's done just yet. Weekly RSI kind of tells a story on this one, as does the daily, and the daily is neutral here as fuck. In fact, the daily is going to start to create some hidden bullish divergences, assuming that it just doesn't break below about 104. If it can just hold this region for the next few days, very likely will. Hey, what's up, new 510? Krown bro, new bro. I need a hair structure analysis on Bcash 4 hour daily. All right, BCH USD 4 hour and daily. Let's go to Bitstamp for this one. I guess it doesn't really matter too much because there's not going to be a whole hell of a lot of history anyways. Daily, just coming down to the 10 simple, man. I don't have any major issues with this, to be honest with you. Again, one of the better actors, actually. Funnily enough, again, I'm not necessarily like a Bcash fan, but as far as charts go, it's not a bad chart, at least in comparison to what the rest of the market is doing right here, which you do need to kind of analyze things in degrees of relative strength and relative weakness. I'd go as far as saying this, new bro, as long as this one closes this weekly above 850, I'd generally be looking for this run to continue, actually. 1400 would still be kind of on the cards for myself. Long term, weekly TSI is going to have a fresh turn up right here in the critical zone. Weekly RSI playing out hidden bullish divergence, although you could certainly say that's already played out. While this one is getting close to a top, and we are actually seeing a weekly HVP get into the red zone, I do think that this one likely has another drive and another try above $1,000, and then we come back to it after that. But this one actually, yes, one of the better actors here, and you can just go off of very, very simple structure right here. As long as this one's above 750, I don't really see any real reason to be bearish on it, looking for like a major reversal. Obviously if it breaks this area to the downside, I'd be looking for major downside. I'm talking about 30% moves to the downside. But for right now, recovering and actually one of the better actors thus far. Nero Stretton says, can we check out ETC? Sure, man. Make Elsa watch Spartacus while she's injured. Elsa sucks, and she doesn't like shit that's cool, and so she doesn't like Spartacus, unfortunately. But it is the best. It is the best, certainly. ETC, USD. Oh, you know what this other show that I've been getting into recently? Oh my god, man, it's great. It's really, really good. If you need a new show to watch on Netflix, I will give you the best one right now. It's called Nightfall. It's fucking phenomenal. It is like a Game of Thrones without any magic and dragons and shit. And no bullshit Targaryen nonsense. It's only the blood and sex. Only the blood and sex, sirs and zers. It's absolutely glorious. I really, really like it. Elsa says, I'm a simp. Well, I'm the simpiest, I'm the youngest, simpiest boomer you ever seen. I'm the youngest boomer in the world, baby. I'm the youngest guy in the world. Let's see. Okay, Ethereum Classic. Again, a little bit of a better actor here, I'd say. that is funny. You don't get to hear that too often. Here's what I'd say, man. Any sort of a closure this week, again, coming in the next 16 hours and 26 minutes above, what is it, like $35? Yeah, above $35. That's going to look really good to me, to be honest with you, man. Call me crazy, but I'm starting to look like a lot of this, a lot of this dump is a bit of just a weekend washout, man. This one does have a greater range on the 4 hour, going to make it really, really a pain in the ass to trade if you're looking at a breakdown right there. But I'd be looking at this area right here, $30 and $30.50 on a 4 hour versus I think it was 35 on a weekly closure. As long as those areas don't get violated on those specific timeframes, I'm looking at any price action within here as constructive and likely to give another try to the upside. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this one make a run towards 45 or maybe even $50 again, to be honest with you. Again, this all kind of hinges on whatever Bitcoin's doing. Okay, cool. Oh my god, man. Whoa, okay. All right, hold on. Do you need to pace myself for these comments here, sirs? Let's see. Oh my god. Okay, whoa. There's a lot. All right, No More Paper says, common theme now in 2017, if the shit rises last, Doggy at 40, Tron at 20, now the dump, my diamond hand's getting weak, Polkadot USD, daily TY, sure, man. All right, I think the symbol DOT, symbol versus USD, we'll go Binance on this one, and we'll go to the daily. Weekly looks, hold on, I actually couldn't really see the weekly too well right there, but daily, what are we seeing right now? Actually, let's go back to the weekly. Okay, weekly is very interesting here. Weekly is very interesting. I look at this as a stair-stepping formation first and foremost. And this one is pretty damn simple here. Just kind of came back down and retested this prior low. Fuck, this is way too convoluted for my chart action. All right, we'll make a little bit of a range right here. Boom, there's your high, there's your low. Pretty much came back down and tested the low. This one not as strong as the other ones. It's not recovering as well as the other ones, you can see. 4 hour, I'd be using the 200 simple and 200 exponential average, which is a bit of a a bit of a medium term bias buster, meaning that if it does pop back above and hold 38 and a quarter, I'd be looking for another move back up 40 plus, what is this, 41 and a quarter to 42 and a half, where I'd be looking towards to the downside. It's not going to be too helpful, to be honest with you, and I apologize for that. But to the downside, I'd still be looking at this as your last higher low, and as long as it's above there, I can't get bearish. If it starts to break below there, then yes, I'd be looking for big moves down towards $20 to the downside. But for right now, it's looking it's looking like it probably gets reaccumulated. Again, I just think it's easier to kind of watch Bitcoin for direction. Let's see. Derek Knapp says, hi, Krown, can you take a look at Chainlink? Yeah, man, we already looked at it earlier, but we can take another look at it right quick. Again, having, one of the better responders here, as it did have a pretty nasty dump, but now recovering a very strong portion of it. 26.5% to the downside, now recovering 7.5%. I don't hate that, man. And again, I actually even look at this as more or less fine. As long as it's above all major moving averages, I can't get bearish on something like that. Weekly is a little bit more in limbo, to be fair, but with the weekly TSI freshly turning up alongside hidden bullish evidence on weekly TSI, I got to stick to my guns here, man. I'm not bearish off something like that. What would my indications for bearishness be? 4 hour closure below the 200 simple right here. Also your last sort of low structure at the $31.11 region. As long as that condition is not met, I'm not bearish on this. David Mail says, hey, Krown. Hello, David. Could you please check unknown Nimic? Symbol NIM. Okay. All right. I'm just going to look at NIM USD. It's going to make it a little bit easier to look at. Oh, we got HIP BTC and KuCoin. We're on a good one right now. You fucking know it, baby. You fucking know it. No time frame given as well. Motherfucker. Motherfucker. I'm going to go with a daily. This one actually has a decent amount of history here, even though it's only on shitcoin exchanges. Looking at the weekly, I don't hate it, but I don't know what time frame you're trying to look at, unfortunately. That's what makes this very difficult. Again, 4 hour range is pretty simple here. Very, very simple. I imagine it kind of correlates with Bitcoin's range as well, as we identified earlier. What is this? 1 cent to the downside versus 1.5 cents to the upside. Not anything too crazy right there. I think the weekly looks okay as it is. Yeah, you know, as long as it's holding this area right here, again, just above 1 cent, I can't really get bearish on it. You know, below there, yes, I start to look for big moves down somewhere around 0.7 of a cent. I mean, we're talking about a 30% plus move right there, so it is very significant. But weekly still looks okay to me. At least as long as that condition is not met, I would actually still remain cautiously sideways and well, more or less sideways on. Look for Bitcoin to give direction on this one. JP says, Krown, I bet this is the Bollinger Band test you were talking about all the time. Yeah, man, it's right here. We actually, I guess you weren't here at the beginning of this video, but yeah, we did quite literally test the topside Trolley Band, and pretty damn stock standard stuff right there. So, you know, contrary to last month, where last month we actually held the open and then just rallied up there, and that condition was obviously fulfilled over time, this one did take the other route where Bitcoin actually dumped down. But as you can see, you know, this almost always does get fulfilled. I mean, in fact, I can't really find an example here where it has not gotten fulfilled. Now, there are examples within the history of, like, you know, the multiverse of assets where that doesn't happen, but in this case, Bitcoin has a 100% pretty much history of you know, of that happening. So pretty damn strong probabilities on your side in this case. Let's see. Dalton says, thoughts on ALCX chart for a week-long trade. ALC. So you're gonna hold it. You want to hold it for a week long. Why a week? that's a real question. There's no history on something like this, man. I don't trust this, man. Look, I don't have any analysis to give you on something like this, man. There's no fucking history. I'm sorry, but look, I can't in good faith tell you about something that, look, this isn't a liquid piece of shit, man. Look at these wicks to the downside. Look at these wicks to the upside. The lack of history here. I would want nothing to do with this piece of garbage unless you have insider information that this thing's gonna, you know, moon itself to the heavens and beyond. I would want nothing to do with this piece of shit. I'd rather go with something that has a lot more history. Hey, what's up, Simon? Morning, sir. Love the Cointelegraph interview. Fuck yeah, man. I'm glad that one found you well. That was it was a very interesting one to do, actually. Going into it, looked very professional. Yeah, very professional, right? Mana looks like it held up pretty well during the dump. Let's check it out. Let's see if we Mana USD on Binance here. Yeah, I'd say it held up pretty. Again, man, like, all of these are seemingly just putting in higher lows right now. I don't hate the 4 hour either. In fact, I wouldn't even be considering this one a reversal until you see a 4 hour closure below 118. I don't have an issue with it as it is right now. Let's look at the weekly here too. Yeah, weekly, I usually don't hate shit like this either. Yes, this one's very, very close to a high though. This one's very fucking close. Weekly RSI getting into some crazy levels probably does create a little bit of divergence on this next drive here. And weekly HVP is redlined as fucking has been for a while. So I do think that this one's very close to a major high, but does get another try to the upside first. Yeah, that's kind of my general disposition on the on the market. You know, things probably get another try to the upside, and then probably some downside displeasures, consolidate a bit, shake everyone out and bore everyone to death, and then rinse repeat for a little bit more perhaps. Anyways, let's see what else we got. Tokyo channel says Mona USD on the daily weekly. Gotcha, man. Gotcha. Saying daily weekly specifically. Remember, this one was breaking out last that we looked at, and what do you know, it just comes back down, retest the breakout area. So again, I don't really have an issue with that. I mean, that is pretty much classic, but it's very, 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 very easy to see on a weekly Tokyo channel. In this case, if you do see the weekly close anywhere above 284, 285, we'll say, I'd still be looking for this one to continue onwards and upwards. Probably gives another try towards the high of the past week, or this current week that it's working on, and generally follows the market. Now, if you do see any sort of a daily closure below this level, 285, I would look for the swing failure pattern to play out, and this thing's going to come down fucking hard, and this thing's going to very likely come down, not just below 285, but probably even $2 overall. So I do put a lot of hinging on this area right here, but so far so good. Mark B says, financial advice, please, Krown. I owe Rose mum $50 for a hand job, but she got liquidated. What? Oh, you got liquidated. She gets angry when I don't pay. Well, if you can just pay her in hairs, then obviously that will be no issue, because Mark B's, no, Rose mum needs some more hairs. You need some more hairs, Rose mom. Sorry. Side Hustle Challenge says, thoughts on LRC USDT. Is this library credits? Man, is this thing still a thing? No, it's loop ring. Is this thing still a thing? I remember this one was popular with the G-Gen crowd not so long ago. Okay, so contrary to the other ones, this one's certainly not having one of the better responses, I'd say. Now, again, this market does move together at the end of the day, right? And we have a pretty obvious range right here. And the range to the upside is going to be pretty much the high of yesterday, about 79, or what is it, 77 and a half, 77 even, versus the low side of the range, which is 44, what is this, 44? Yeah, 44. That's not very helpful right there, but I would say that it generally has a long-term bullish bias as long as it holds this low right here. And that is your trend for what it's worth right now. As it stands right now, 4 hours going to be put in some hidden bullish divergence if it does confirm a little bit of a local low right here, which would imply a little bit of short-term upside towards 60, what is it, 68 and a half? No, more like 67 cent actually. But again, I actually oh no, you did give time frame. So 4 hour, yeah, I'd be looking at something like that. Daily, daily range is probably going to be too unhelpful to you. But this is all that I can do for something like this, just because I don't trust these whippy washy altcoins. I just think it's easier to look at Bitcoin for direction, to be honest with you. Okay, cool. My favorite says checked blackout correlation, and it's to the minute. Blackout correlation. Wait, what do you mean? Oh, the blackout of China. I mean, it would make total sense. I mean, that is like an actual issue. It's like people just basically turn off the fucking off button. Hey, what the hell? I'm in the chats. Apparently, Krown's Crypto Cave is in the chats giving out his WhatsApp number. I mean, obviously everyone knows that's a fucking scam, hopefully. But what I can tell you is that I don't even have an American number. So that +1 is a bunch of bullshit. It's not me. Miguel Simoes says, thanks, man. Love the honesty. TVK, my only down so far. Could you check Kati USD? Sure, man. Yeah, man. Again, it's like, you got to be fucking honest when you're talking on the internet, because what's the point if not? Like look, man, I want to be very open and honest when or transparent when I don't feel like I have a good idea of what's going on, or when I can't look at something, or when I just I don't fucking know, right? Because there's going to be times where I don't know. I mean right now it's kind of a bit of an uncertain time, I suppose, but the ranges are rather well set, and that's what I put my name behind, not necessarily like calling it, so to speak. Could you check Cody? Okay, 1 day. Okay, cool. Okay, so looking at the daily right here, this one definitely, is having a good recovery thus far, but I don't like what this one's doing, to be honest with you. It's actually even potentially put in some hidden bearish divergence right here, which will confirm with any sort of a closure below 31.5 cent. And if that happens, I'd actually look for another run at the lows at about 20 cent. Here's the thing though, if I'm looking for the rest of the market to trade a little bit of sideways and try some upside, should I be looking for the same thing on this one? Yes, generally speaking, yes. But if that condition is met, yeah, I kind of have to be looking to the downside on this one specifically. Weekly is definitely in trouble here too, showing a lot of top signs as well. We see weekly RSI way the fuck in the 93.5 territory, which is pretty damn high. Plus HVP is way the hell up there as well. I mean, usually that is going to be demonstrative of a major high to me, maybe even a macro high in this case. But this one, as far as the macro goes, it'd be a bit premature to even call that. 20 cents would be my condition for that. For what it's worth right now, long term, it actually does have a nice uptrend. But the ranges are so wide here. I'm afraid it's not going to be very helpful to you. What I can say is on the 4 hour, actually the 4 hour is actually doing it rather well. Okay, here's our 4 hour range. 24 to the downside, 24 cent to the downside. That is continuation. That is like, all hands on deck looking for a big downside of, if that condition is met. I'm talking about like down to 14.5 cent region. But until that condition is met, I look at sideways as more or less constructive. Although, again, I just think it's easier to look at the other ones here for now. Do have a lot of bad things going on here, to be fair, though. I really don't like that hidden bearish divergence potentially populating itself on the daily, but it is a long day left to go. If that condition is met, though, that should be an early major warning signal. Okay, cool. All right. Missed my chat above. Sorry, Aurora. I really sincerely apologize about that, man. I know it's fucking annoying. Sol USD. Paula Foley says, time for a drink. Oh, Paula. Paula, thank you. This one's for you, Mrs. Paula. Oh, bring my voice back from the dead there, too. All right, Sol USD. And you're looking at an hourly. Okay. Very good response here. This one has to be the best response I've seen thus far. And this, again, you know, puts another point in the court of what I think Bitcoin's probably doing. I think Bitcoin probably pulls through here, to be honest with you. I know you asked about an hourly, but I would like to see the data. Look, man, there's nothing fucking bearish about that buy up. There's nothing bearish about that buy up at all. This one on an hourly, I do think that you kind of have seen your hourly high right here, and probably does trade a little bit down short term to like 26.5 or maybe even 26.80ish region. And then I'd be looking for it to try to put in a bit of a local low somewhere around there. Ultimately, though, if you are concerned about the hourly, here would be obviously your top side resistance. Here's going to be your bottom side resistance, and here is about the middle of the range. In all these areas can be used, you know, for a bit of buys. So again, you know, same areas that I called up to the upside 28 versus downside 25, 30, and then this area is kind of where I'd be looking for on this current move to the downside after that quick rejection. But long term, man, I know you didn't ask about a daily, but this one definitely does deserve some daily love. This is really fucking good right here, and this one I imagine will be the first one to make new all-time highs if everything else kind of turns around. Phenomenal response, and it deserves a lot of praise on something like that. Very fucking good, extremely fucking good, in fact. Okay, cool. What else did I miss? Okay, nice. All right. Rami says, "Hey, Krown, what's up, Rami? Hope all is well. I got a really good night of sleep last night, but I'm dealing with the allergy season from hell right now." Can we look at Ford? Yeah, man. Daily, weekly. Yeah, sure. You know, stocks obviously aren't trading over the weekend, but I'm happy to look at it, especially on higher term timeframes. Okay, daily. Pretty obvious range right here. We got $12 to the downside versus last local high right around $12.90 to the upside. Weekly, however, is looking a lot more to me like it plays, you know, it probably plays within this region for a little bit of time. That region, again, being between about, you know, what is it, $12 and $13 essentially. I do think that this one will ultimately come to the downside. However, I want to resolve that on the other side by saying, look, it also does have a golden cross coming in on the weekly here, probably in the next month. So I would be looking for the next test to the downside to very likely get bought on up. Whether that happens down to like 10, 50 or $11, I don't know, but that would be areas that I'm very, very interested in if and when that does happen. So. And then, of course, you know, if it does break to the upside, you know, these would be my just right here, and you know, could very likely look for a move back up to about 14 and a quarter. It looks like looks pretty damn good. You know, would look pretty damn good on that. But I do favor a general sideways range here, a little bit of down, and then gets picked up and marches its way up. Just based off of that. You know, in just like a general thing here too, a test into that region would actually be better for a moving average cross like that. Okay, cool. Ben says, thoughts on longer term time frame 4-hour chart for wait, thoughts on longer term time frame 4-hour chart. Sir, what the fuck? When you say longer term time frame, man, that means like weekly, monthly, not a fucking 4-hour. But we'll check it out right here. Phil, symbol FIL, USD. I guess we'll go Binance, and you want to look at a 4-hour. Wow, daily really got absolutely shreked right there. 4-hour, similar to Bitcoin, you know, has an obvious range going on right here. 200 simple and 200 exponential average, actually marking off your last higher lows as well. So I would keep a keen eye on that. As long as you're above this area right here, I don't have a major issue with it. I generally think that it's going to do whatever Bitcoin does. And in this case, you know, sideways within this region is going to be considered more or less good. Obviously, upside resolution above 190-ish region would imply a move back up to about 235-ish region, and a break below the current low structure. Again, 142. Yeah, 142. And I'd be looking for a big down, like, you know, somewhere around 110 to even 100 even, and then come back to it after that. But again, based off the daily and weekly, which you didn't really ask for, although you did see long term, but then gave a very short term time frame, which is rather interesting. I'm never going to be bearish on something that's still above the 21 right here. And especially while it has a positive slope as well. So I generally be looking for some sideways here, and that's going to be, you know, more or less good. Alrighty. All right, my voice is like starting to leave me, so okay, yep, we got that. All right, Ben, I got you, brother. I got you, sir. Okay, did I get everything else? Oh my god, no, they just keep on piling in, sir. Jeremy Brown says, opinion on Hex. What's my opinion on Hex? As far as like the technology, I'm not the person to go to for that. I know that a lot of people have expressed that it is not the most altruistic of all products, you know, throughout the history of time. Do I think this one's seen a top right here? There's really not enough history to say something like that just yet. I do think that it's going to follow the rest of the market though, man. Everything in this market moves together, right? I'm not saying anything that's too profound, or I'm not saying anything that's profound at all. I'm not saying anything that's probably even helpful at all, to be honest with you. Do I trust this chart? I trust this chart to do whatever the rest of the market's doing, man. In this case, I think sideways within this range is going to be more or less fine for the market. If we were to make a range for the current structure, it'd be something like this. With what is this? 1 spot 3 cent to the downside versus 2 spot 1 cent to the upside. Looking at this right here, this one does look a lot more like distribution, probably plays in a sideways range, and this one actually does look like it wants to come a little bit further to the downside. I'm not a huge fan of the weekly right here, but if you do want to play this one by the book, what I would say is, as long as the weekly's closing above 1 spot 4 cent, I would be more or less bullish on this one long term, at least for now. Again, this is more of a market analysis rather than a hex analysis, but that's what I would say about that. And that actually is the low of your dumps so far today. You could look at that as a retest of the breakout. A lot of people look at that as like a big buying opportunity. I think it's an obvious bounce opportunity. A lot of the time though, I don't like buying those myself, to be fair. I'm also not really much of a breakout trader, but again, as long as it maintains that, again, one spot 4, I guess I'd be generally bullish on it, but I do not feel confident on something like this, to be 100% transparent. I do not feel confident. Crypto for Life in all capitals says, thoughts on buy in position for BNB, please, sir. Sir, fucking English and also caps lock, for the love of God. Look, when you say thoughts on buy-in position, I don't know what you're fucking trying to do. Are you trying to hold this for like the next 5 minutes, the next 4 hours, the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year? The answer is going to massively change on any one of those, man. You can't expect a good answer without like, just do I buy now? Man, you're already fucked. You're already fucked, man. Buy or no? It's like, wow. I'm going to choose or. Or go back to school, sir. Sorry, man. Having a little bit of fun at your behest, I think. Anyways, look, man, it's going to do with what the rest of the market does. This one being one of the stronger ones that I would look for to lead out of an area like this, but range is pretty damn set here, even on the short-term time frames. 460 to the downside versus 540 to the upside. As long as it's within this region right here, I do look at this as more or less constructive. But look, what the fuck? Someone's knocking on the door. Oh. Elsa has a friend coming over right now. But looking at this right here, man, I have to say the same thing, that I've been saying on Bitcoin. It's a little bit too early for me to be calling any sort of like major downside for something like this. Look, if it closes the weekly like this, like 520 or anywhere below 520, and then takes out the current low at 425, I'd be looking at that as majorly bearish, coming back down to $300, maybe more to the downside, but for the most part, I'd say any sort of price action within this range right here is probably going to be constructive first and foremost, and I guess another try to the upside long term. I think that the market's very fucking close to a major top here, but actually BNB showing a lot of signals of a major top. First off, if this actually does confirm as a local high, we won't just have a local high right there. We'll have bearish divergence on the weekly plus HVP in the red zone right here, deep inside the red zone, that is. And that would look really fucking bad, and that would probably be good enough for me to call a major top. But until that happens, probably wouldn't. Moi Suvi. Let's see. We got Yonold Gondel. What's up, man? Unfortunately, no message. Liz in Seattle says, Krown, love you. Liz, love you too. Did you leave the U.S. permanently? I don't really want to go back, but I mean, it's never wise to say something permanently, right? But if I have everything my way, I don't have any intention to leave here in Europe, or especially even Finland. Anyways, can you check out Ball USD on the daily weekly? All right, sweet. Actually, I really like Seattle. I've been there a few times when I was in college at Oregon, and Seattle always kind of like struck me as like a really, really good city, like kind of like a mini San Francisco actually. Anyways, but like cleaner, way cleaner, without all the hobo shit too. Really fucking good. Anyways, okay, so cool. Ball USD daily. Very similar to a lot of the other ones. This one actually looks almost exactly the same as Bitcoin in the sense that it made a slightly new high right here. And very similar to Bitcoin, you have some very obvious areas of operation to the downside here. We got this area right here, 47.25. We got this area right here, obviously the last major low. And then on a weekly, what does it look like? The weekly still looks fine to me. I don't have a major issue with this. As long as the weekly doesn't even break the low structure, which is pretty much synonymous with the 10 simple right here at $50, I look at this as likely to give it a try to the upside as well. There are a few concerning things going on right here, but Just like I can't really get bearish on Bitcoin until we even put in like a daily lower low. I can't really get bearish on this thing as long as it's above, especially 49.5 bucks. So, you know, I'd actually be favoring a little bit of sideways here and then probably another try to the upside. And we could use a 4 hour on this one as well. So again, 49.90ish region, what I'd be looking towards. Damn Tazia says, hello, sir. Sorry to ask for nano Bitcoin. Oh, motherfucker. Motherfucker, nano BTC. All right, we'll look at this. We'll look at the old tendies over here. Wow, tendies. Whoa, what the fuck? This is looking really good. It's like, what the hell is it? What sort of Twilight Zone have I stepped into? This is looking extremely good. I have to be bullish on this one, man. Like, very bullish on this one, in fact. I'd be looking for this one to have a move up to like 27.70. Oh, we can finally pay back Nicholas Martin's mom. Chicken tendies are on the menu once again, baby. Fuck yeah. Yeah, man, this is looking pretty good. Actually pretty fucking good right there. Daily, weekly, both breakout here. I don't see any real reason why this thing doesn't try higher. Somewhere around like 28, maybe even 3,000 satoshis. Looking pretty damn good there. Double R says, Terry Dent advises to move into cash and 30-year bonds to surviving pending crash. Real estate, minus 25%. Stocks, minus 70%. Gold and Bitcoin, not safe havens. Thoughts? Well, I'd agree that... okay. Well, I'm actually not. I'm not very clear on what exactly you're asking my thoughts on. But if you're asking my thoughts on basically what I think within the context of a channel like this, you're probably asking is like, do I think if that happens, I think it'd be a massive. Well, okay, let's just run with the assumption that what he says is true, right? So we're gonna see, you should move into cash and 30-year bonds, and real estate's gonna crash, stocks are gonna crash, and gold and Bitcoin will crash along with it. I would agree that if stocks crash, if you see the major indices crash, you're going to see everything crash. That's just the correlations that we have thus far. And there's been no real reason to change away from that. You know, we can go back to coronavirus dump times. What happened during coronavirus dumps? Well, Bitcoin, traditional markets, everything fucking came down with each other. Gold too. Everything. Fucking everything, man. There is no safe haven. The safe haven is a short. The real hedge is an actual short position or short exposure, not holding a bunch of different assets. I think that narrative is completely fucking false, and anyone with a modicum of just, well, chart knowledge, or not even chart knowledge, but anyone with fucking eyes can see that this over here, over a long enough period of time, looks very similar to this over here. You know, obviously the numbers are not be the same, but you know, these charts are mostly just straight up. And whenever, you know, that is why I keep on coming back to that sort of notion that a rising tide lifts all ships. Like, look, man, anytime that Bitcoin's been in a major downtrend, so has traditional markets. Anytime that traditional markets been in a major uptrend, so has Bitcoin. You know, so on and so forth. So until we actually see a difference between that relationship, presumed over a long period of time, like a weekly, preferably even a monthly, I don't think that there's anything that's truly uncorrelated within this world. I think that everything is correlated with each other pretty much. In some way, maybe not direct, maybe like not fully correlated, but you don't need to be fully correlated. You need to be like 0.5% correlation. 0.5 correlation before like it's okay. Where's your goddamn hedge? You don't have one. You know, you want zero. You want something that's uncorrelated, or ideally you want something that's directly negatively correlated. If you wanted like an actual hedge on your asset to begin with. All right. Hopefully I got onto what you're looking for there, because I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly certain. AJ says, hello, mister. Hello, sir. Could you check out MRCWF? MRC. Did I get that right? WF? What is this? Mercer Park? Okay, so it's some sort of acquisition, trades, OTC. I don't have an opinion on this, man. I'm sorry, but I can't give you an opinion on this. I don't know. There's a massive lack of history. For the history that we do have, this thing doesn't trade for days at a time. I don't trust this at all, and I cannot give you anything resembling a well-informed opinion. If I had to call it, I'd say sideways above 140 is long-term good, but I don't trust even that, to be honest with you. This is OTC bullshit. This might as well be, you know, crypto for all I'm concerned with, and in a massive lack of history, and just not even trading here is just not going to be good enough for me. Not going to be good enough. Not just that I don't like it. There's nothing to really be going off of here. All right, Miguel says, last one. All right, man. UTK. Okay, UTK. Let's see if it pops up. Symbol UTK USD. It does. Hey, sweet. It exists. It's real. It's a real coin. Again, another better actor here. Not a whole hell of a lot of history on this one, but at least it fucking trades. You got your last higher low coming in where 53.5 cents. So as long as it holds that region right there, I just look at this as another opportunity, really. You can plot off this region right here, no problem. Just comes back down and retests it. I don't have a major issue with this, man. I'd be bullish on this thing as long as it's about 55.5 cent. Below 55.5 cent, yeah, I'd be looking for bigger moves to the downside, like 43 cent, maybe even more. But for now, man, I don't hate it. Daily TSI could very easily turn up here too with any sort of a closure above 64 cents. So if that condition is met, I'd actually be looking for upside continuation here long term. Below here though, I start to get bearish. All right, cool. Chimero says, how are you today, mate? I'm actually doing all right, man. I got a really good night of sleep, but fuck, man, I gotta tell you, like, these allergies are just nailing my brain. Can you please check Link BTC daily and weekly? Sure. We looked at USD earlier, but we can look at BTC right here. Let's see what we got. Up. I actually like it right here. If you see the weekly close above 55 and 21, I'd actually be looking at this as a bit of a fake out. This is like a classic fake out right here, and probably moves on over the next few weeks up to like 87 or maybe even 100,000 satoshis again. It would look pretty damn good with weekly TSI turning up, albeit below in the bearish buy zone, and weekly RSI, of course, rejecting the bearish control zone. I'd actually like that. Yes. Yes, about a daily as well. Daily, I don't really have as much of an opinion on. I think the weekly gets this one rather well here. So I'd keep an eye on this. And again, it really hinges on this weekly closure coming up. Okay. I think we're getting close. Oh, there he is, Mr. Kendrick DeCamps. Greetings, King of the Dominicans are back, baby. They're fucking here. We have harnessed the powers of the Dominicans. Actually, really good people, by the way. Really fucking good people. Patience with MKR 3050 exit and Ren paid off. Thank you. Thoughts on OMG USD? Nice, man. So it sounds like the targets that we spoke about on Maker and Ren looked good. So good. Nice. I like it, sir. Let's go check out OMG. Oh, hey, this is actually not bad on Coinbase, but let's look at what it actually looks like, because I know that's not the true history here. Let's go to Binance for a second. Yeah, this is what it really looks like, but it actually has confirmed an uptrend as of a few weeks ago. So well before that, but big breakout over here was above 680-ish region. I'm generally going to favor this one, man. This one, again, we're seeing a lot of the same sort of rhymes across the market, in the sense that you're getting kind of these retests of breakouts right here, right? And while I've kind of expressed my opinion that I'm not a huge fan of those, and I typically don't like them except for more than a bounce, a lot of people actually do look for that, especially if they are kind of going to be a breakout trader in this case. As long as it's above this level right here, 670, I don't really have a reason to be bearish on it, to be fair, or just whatever this weekly low is thus far, which is pretty much the same thing. Yeah, pretty much the same thing right there. Now, if it does break below this region, I'd look for a quick move. Well, maybe not quick, but I'd look for a move down to like 440. But as long as it holds it, man, I kind of have to be bullish on this. This is not necessarily the most bearish chart of all time. Weekly TSI is up. Weekly RSI is okay. Could put in some bearish evidence if it confirms as a local high, but again, that won't happen unless it comes down below the current low. So I guess I'd have to tentatively be looking still to the upside. Next major area of interest would be the current high of this run, which is about 12.5, I think. Yeah, sorry, 12.25, make that. And long term would be 1740. All right, let's see what else we got. John Johnson says, in your opinion, will Bitcoin ever be displaced as the wait, what? In your opinion, will Bitcoin ever be displaced as the Krown crypto king, like as the one that I think is the most reasonable, maybe digital government fiat cryptos? It's definitely possible. It would be very naive to say that that's not possible for sure. I mean, you never say fucking never when it comes to something like that, especially with these very immature and nascent technologies. So if that's what your question is, then yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it could very well happen. Do I think that it's unlikely? I think with each and every passing day that we see Bitcoin still being like, holding the reins of the market, that becomes less and less likely. With something like this, one of the biggest attracting factors for someone like me with Bitcoin is that as each and every day passes, it becomes more and more secure, it becomes more and more tested, it becomes more and more anti-fragile, to reference an Nassim Taleb concept as well. So So for me, the more that time goes on with Bitcoin being kind of like at the pole position, the less and less likely that happens. You also have to realize that network effect are going on as well. But the problem is, as you identify, is that digital government fiat cryptos could very easily, invoke that network effect a lot fucking faster than Bitcoin, because we are, forced to kind of transact in that in daily, in daily deals. So do I think that it can happen? Yes, absolutely. What do I think is most likely? What I think is most likely, because I think that Bitcoin's kind of like a little bit past the point of no return. It's kind of like, like the cat's out of the bag, right? What I think is most likely is I think Bitcoin will be considered like the store of value, like, a piece of property that you essentially hold to maintain value. And then you'll transact in government fiat currencies in your day to day. And you'll hopefully we'll be able to like build some banking systems around Bitcoin being used as like collateral and whatnot. If that can happen, I mean, it wouldn't be any different than like, people who leverage their house, for example, in order to take out a loan and then live their day to day, playing the whole fucking asset game, which is actually how I understand people actually could literally hodl until death, taking out loans against that. Then again, it's not necessarily that simple, but if you listen to Michael Saylor, I think that he has some really interesting and very forward thinking idea with that. But then again, that implies that they're going to keep it that way, with allowing you to use that as equity to kind of what's it called? Use it as equity to kind of leverage against. So fair enough. Alrighty, cool. Okay, all right, let's see. I think that is just about it. Nope, we got Jeremy Brown, Jeremy Brown, last one. Oh my God, man. Getting crazy, man. Getting crazy in the comments right now. .btc. Okay, this is going to be the last of the last ones. I am, my voice is tired as hell right now, but we'll do this one just for Mr. Jeremy. .btc actually looking pretty good here. Did obviously take out this prior all-time high, so I generally look at this price discovery. Kind of a, you're probably going to laugh at what I say here, but this is a controlled bring down of price action. So I'm not necessarily bearish on something like this, man. In fact, I'd be looking at 60,000 Satoshis or 61,000 Satoshis as an area of interest. Now, here's the thing. You have a very obvious higher low on the weekly right here, right? And that is 58,000 Satoshis, about 58,000 Satoshis right there. As long as it's above there, I have no real reason to be looking for like a macro reversal or get super bearish on this one. If that does get taken out, I do look for moves down to 47,000 Satoshis, maybe even beyond. As long as that condition is not met, though, I look for this to kind of stair step its way up. This is an uptrend, and the trend is your friend in this case. And again, with this dump happening over a weekend, I am very hesitant to be looking at this as at least a reversal as it is right now. That is. All right, my friends. It's been an absolute pleasure today. It's been an absolute fucking pleasure today. My voice is wrecked beyond recognition at this point. It's raspy lesbian times for the next day and a half, I think. So I'm going to be drinking some tea like a very high-class, sophisticated person, which I'm certainly not. And I'll leave you at that. I don't want to do a full-on wrap-up here, but to kind of wrap up my thoughts, short-term timeframes, Bitcoin, I'm looking for a bit of a sideways range, anywhere between about 54 and 56.5, of which we just tested the top side of the range once again. Anywhere between there, I don't really look at it as anything relevant for any medium or higher term timeframes. Obviously, what everything kind of hinges on is the daily closure, and by extension the weekly closure, and even 2-day and 3-day closure as well. And if this does close above $56,000, I do still look at this as more or less an uptrend, and that was a bit of an opportunity. By the same token, any sort of a closure below $56,000, and I will start to look for moves back down, probably towards 53 or 52,500 bucks. And that's at the point where the weekly trend actually could reverse, and that would be very much concerning. But for what it's worth right now, with Bitcoin above all major moving averages still, I do put structure and trend over everything else in these situations, just because with this move happening over a weekend, I'm very, 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 very skeptical with any sort of reversal that happens over the weekend that is contrary to both the week's direction and the macro direction, which are one and the same in this case. So I'm a little bit on edge to really be looking at that as a reversal just yet. More or less an opportunity, at least in the way that we kind of looked at a bunch of things within this market. It would appear to me that some of the altcoins are actually even leading the charge to the upside, of which I kind of forget some of their names there. But overall, those are my conditions right there. And I think with that said, I'd like to wish you the best. We'll be back on tomorrow with some more live stream analysis. Take care and see you.